begin in the clinic near sunset. There's a wolf who will probably but not necessarily kill us, and if so, we awaken in the hunter's dream with Gurman, where we get a weapon and try again. Outside the clinic, across a small courtyard, is the gate to central Yharnam. Unlike the last two Souls games, we don't really have much choice starting out on where to go. The street's main gate is closed, but a lever over here drops a ladder leading up and around to the other side. This first street is long and crowded, and the enemies actually walk along it, which didn't happen very much in Dark Souls 1 and 2. At the far end is a locked door with something trying to break through, and around a side door is this little plaza where we can fight that something. Heading around this way, we can get up to the Great Bridge, but it's also worthwhile to explore the other direction. We can open a shortcut back to the lamp, as well as a shortcut ahead. At the bridge, there's finally a bit of a split. At the far end is the Cleric Beast, who is the optional first boss, but drops a Sword Hunter badge that unlocks some new inventory back at the Dream Shop, including the Hunter Chief emblem, which is useful later. We can also just skip him. The stairs over here lead back to the first lamp and connect to that shortcut I mentioned a second ago. After or instead of the Cleric Beast, we can also go down over here through Yharnam's more sewery district. There are ladders leading up to a shortcut back to that plaza from a moment ago, and nearby there's an NPC who will give us a tiny music box. We can also meet Eileen the Crow in this building over here, who can be a friend or foe, before continuing across the not-so-great bridge to the Tomb of Odin, where we fight Father Gascoigne, the first non-optional boss. Beyond his arena is the Odin Chapel, and from there the Cathedral Ward. This whole area is arranged around a lengthy staircase up to the Grand Cathedral that dominates the skyline. If we killed Cleric Beast and bought the emblem, we can open the gate that leads straight to the cathedral and the next boss, plus explore an optional lane area to the left. If we didn't get that emblem, this gate stays locked and we have to go through the otherwise optional old part of town instead. Down in this church, a lever moves a tomb hiding stairs to Old Yharnam. Across the first bridge, we are warned this area has an interesting twist in that we must avoid Jura's Gatling gun, set up in this tower over here, as we make our way through the streets dealing with beasts. Partway through, we have the chance to climb up and fight him, but it isn't necessary right now, and we'll have a chance to chat later. Down through the building, we continue around, now out of his line of sight. Across this bridge is a shortcut back to the area entrance, and at the end of the road is the Church of the Good Chalice and the Blood-Starved Beast. By killing this boss, we open the Odin Chapel elevator, leading to a path to the Healing Church Workshop. We don't get a cutscene for this door or anything, so it's kind of easy to miss, but ask Gurman for advice and he'll suggest ascending the chapel, so that helps. There's a locked door up here we can't open for a while, leading to the upper Cathedral Ward, and through a side door leading down, we can reach the abandoned old workshop and nab a free umbilical cord. We can also finally get to the other side of the gate leading to the Grand Cathedral, going the long way around. Killing Blood-Starved Beast will also spawn big bagmen snatchers all over the place. Snatchers kidnap us to a place called the Hypogean Jail. We can't fully explore the Yahar'gul district yet, but we can find the Dark Beast Parl and thus contact Jura the back way without a fight, provided we promise to spare the beasts in Old Yharnam. Within the Great Cathedral, we meet and greet Vicar Amelia. Afterwards, examining the big skull advances the evening to night. The church giants simply fall asleep, bless them. Examining the big skull also reveals the password to the Forbidden Woods. The DLC also becomes accessible after Amelia, but it might be a bit much right now. If we take the detour to Hemwick Charnel Lane, Charnel of course referring to a house used for storing corpses, we eventually come to the Witch's Abode and boss fight with the Witch of Hemwick. There's a spooky castle in the distance, but the bridge is out, so it's a progression dead end for now. The Forbidden Woods are reached via another gate in the ward, and the place is a sinister serpent swamp with looping hills and a pretty dumpy village. The game calls this collective Hemwick Woods region the Frontier, by the way. We can meet a creepy guy along the way who is apparently eating people, and at the far end, the Shadow of Yharnam boss guards the road to Byrgenwerth College. So let's pause for a second. While exploring the city, we have the opportunity to help some NPCs relocate to Odin Chapel or Yosefka's clinic. We can find some of these at red lamp-marked doors around town, and others like Cannibal Guy here out in the world. After entering Forbidden Woods, several of those red lamp NPCs will give us the unsettling Tonsil Stone. With this stone, we can stand in a particular spot in this chapel here and get grabbed by a ghoulie and taken to the lecture hall, which sort of exists in a little pocket dimension. There's some sluggy students slamming around, and one of the doors here leads to a new area called the Nightmare Frontier. But again, let's set that aside. Back in the woods, Byrgenwerth College is pretty small and simple. We make our way around the yard and inside, swatting these superflies everywhere, and track down the Lunarium key on the upper floor. The key will get us out into the balcony, and we can meet Master Willem, jump into Moonside Lake, and fight Rom the Spider. Defeating Rom and approaching the Lingering Lady triggers the Blood Moon. At various locations around Yharnam, monstrous spider gods appear perched on buildings, which you might have seen before if you already hit 40 insight. NPCs can no longer be saved at this point. Speaking of NPCs, while exploring the woods, we might also find a back entrance to Iosefka's clinic where we started the game, and there we can find a Cainhurst summons talking about a stagecoach at Hemwick Crossing. Iosefka herself is fought here, and if we wait until after killing Rom to do so, we get another umbilical cord. Okay, so after Rom, we turn up in that chapel where we were grabbed to the lecture hall, but the door ahead is now open. This way is Yahar'gul, Unseen Village, home of the Hypogean jail and some monstrous scenery. A guy over here drops the upper cathedral key, if you remember that door by the Healing Church workshop, so stash that, and carefully get past the laser-shooting spider gods to the Advent Plaza at the far end of town. A boss here drops out of the moon, as they do, and after killing its healers around the battlements and beating it, we examine this cage-head corpse in the building beyond and warp to the lecture hall again, but the second floor this time. There's a ladder down to 1F and the Nightmare Frontier if we didn't get there before, and another door on 2F that warps to a similarly disconnected Nightmare of Mensis. Let's do the nightmares in the order that we found them. The Nightmare Frontier is spooky, but not very exciting unless you like poison bogs. It's a bunch of cracked surfaces and little carved tombstones everywhere as we weave around the rocks. It also has my favorite creepy Bloodborne enemies, the Winter Lanterns. Finally, we confront one of those spider god amygdalas directly at the end. This whole bit is optional unless you want to do Chalice Dungeon stuff. In the Nightmare of Mensis, we have an Eye of Sauron situation at hand with the frenzy lights from the castle above, so we need to hide as we approach. The right path doesn't go anywhere yet, so we go left to another classic Church of Spiders. We cross a lower bridge and end up fighting Mikolash, host of the Nightmare, who has an unusual cat-and-mouse boss encounter. Up a lift and back across the bridge are some winter lanterns, and a place where we can use a lever to drop the source of the frenzy waves into a pit. Back in the main loft, we can visit said source, a giant brain, in its now defenseless state at the bottom of the pit, and kill it. Then we head to the top of the loft and battle Murgo's wet nurse. Murgo, of course, referring to the crying baby we've enjoyed hearing lately. The wet nurse has another umbilical cord, and it seems like a significant event when we kill it. And we're at the end of the game already. Back in the Hunter's Dream, we can set the final sequence in motion. I haven't said much about the final boss Gurman yet, and I'm not going to now either. One ending involves him killing us, and one involves us killing him, and there's a third one that we can see. But before we do that, we got the Upper Cathedral Ward key and the Cainhurst summons to sort out. Upper Cathedral Ward is an optional area reachable from the top of the Healing Church workshop. We loop around to the upper levels of the Grand Cathedral and immediately start seeing weird aliens like we might have seen previously at the clinic. In the halls up here, we find the orphanage key and get a glimpse of true weirdness, the Celestial Emissary. After navigating this group boss fight, we can take a lift down to a forlorn cave and encounter Ebrietas, daughter of the cosmos. Forsaken Castle Cainhurst does not have aliens, it's more of a Dracula thing. Examining the Cainhurst obelisk with our summons a carriage to fly us over to the snowy castle. It isn't too complex. We cross the courtyard to an entrance hall and climb up to the battlements, head back over to the library and up onto the roof. There are some brave drops here to cross over to the main building, and on the roof over here we meet Martyr Logarius. Behind him is Annalise and her PvP-focused Vile Bloods Covenant. Lastly, lest we forget, the Old Hunters DLC, reachable via another spider grab outside this chapel after beating Amelia and finding a blood-drunk eye in the Hunter's Dream. We end up in the Hunter's Nightmare, which starts as a mangled version of Odin Chapel in the Cathedral Ward. We can grab an eye pendant on a burning beast corpse in Amelia's boss room at the top of the stairs, before veering into a new part of town where we follow an ominous river of blood upstream. At the head of the river, Ludwig waits in his corpse pile. After fighting him, we can activate the surgery altar/elevator with the eye pendant. At this point, if we search under the altar after it goes up and find Lawrence's skull, we can opt to return to the Grand Cathedral and wake up the skull's fiery owner for another boss fight. Up the altar is the research hall, and the grand tradition of big rooms with twisty walkways. We deal with swollen head patients everywhere, one of whom requests brain fluid in exchange for a balcony key, and we find a mechanism to raise the central pillar up, forming a path to the living failures boss says. They drop the Astral Clock Tower key, and the Astral Clock Tower is right across the way with another really excellent tough boss, Lady Maria. After we finish kicking her Astral Clock Tower door open, we continue out into the gloom. This final zone is the fishing hamlet where everything began. We follow the muddy path right into the village square and do battle with a local fishman, Innsmouth style. There's a well here with a battle against 2 fish giants at once that's probably the hardest encounter in the game. From there we can head up the muddy path to the lighthouse, follow the wooden walkways down and around to a cave path with some snail things, and eventually lead to a lonely beach. Here we fight the DLC's final boss, the Orphan of Kaz. Or as some say, Kazum. Now there's that third ending. After beating Gurman in the dream, if we understandably ate 3 or 4 of the umbilical cords we found, a secret final confrontation with the Moon Presence follows. Bloodborne also stashed more bosses in something called Chalice Dungeons. This is the system where we can use chalices and ingredients and glyphs to create dungeons with rare rewards. The basic idea is we enter, pass a checkpoint in the boss door, explore the main area to find a lever to open said boss door, beat the boss, and continue to the next layer, while hopefully finding enough ingredients to generate subsequent dungeons. Now, there's a lot of options, but I'll focus on the route to Queen Yharnam, who's the farthest Chalice boss required for the Platinum Trophy at depth 5 of the Tumeru Dungeons. To get started, we need to kill the blood-starved beast for the Tumeru Chalice. The depth 1 Chalice has 3 bosses, ending with the central Tumeru Chalice, which itself has 3 bosses, ending in the lower Tumeru Chalice. If we defeat all bosses in the lower Tumeru Chalice, we get a Defiled Chalice. But we need some rarer ingredients for the Defiled depths. Most guides recommend defeating Amygdala for the Ailing Loran Chalice to get them. If we get the ingredients there, we can go back to the Defiled Chalice. The real Bloodborne starts here. We have 50% health for all 3 of these dungeons against the Keeper of the Old Lords, the Watchdog of the Old Lords, and Amygdala yet again, who drops the Great Tumeru Heal Chalice. The ingredients here are especially annoying for this one, likely requiring trips to other chalices like the Great Assize Chalice from Ebrietas with alien-kin bosses. Once we get enough red jellies, we can make a depth 5 Great Tumeru Heal dungeon, and challenge to Tumerian Descendant, the Bloodletting Beast with no head, and Yharnam, Tumerian Queen. Yharnam is sort of the other endpoint of the storyline, having been Murgo's mom and the unwilling source of a bunch of bad stuff on the surface years later. So, putting Chalice Dungeons back in their box. The minimal route through the game is straightforward compared to many Souls games. Kill Gascoigne, kill Cleric Beast and buy the emblem, or kill Bloodstarved Beast in Old Yharnam, kill Amelia and get the Forbidden Woods password, kill the Shadows of Yharnam and Rom, kill the One Reborn in Yahar'gul and get to Mensis, kill Mikolash and Murgo, and confront Gurman. There's no Lord Souls quest or anything like that at the end. Hemwick Lane, Castle Cainhurst, Old Yharnam, Upper Cathedral Ward, and the Nightmare Frontier, and of course the DLC are all totally optional. Lean and mean. By the way, defeating Amelia and Rom advanced the moon phase as well, and some areas have multiple lighting setups depending on the time of night. Very cool. Next time we'll tackle Dark Souls 3. Thanks for watching.